Dear shorthand writers, this is English shorthand dictation number 150 and the dictation speed is 160 words per minute. Ready? Start. Today there is talk of war everywhere. Everyone fears a war breaking out between the two countries. If that happens, it will be a calamity both for India and for Pakistan. India has written to the United Nations because whenever there is a fear of conflict anywhere, the United Nations is asked to promote a settlement and to stop fighting from breaking out. India therefore wrote to the United Nations that however trivial the issue may appear to be, it could lead to a war between the two countries. It is a long memorandum and it has been cabled. Pakistan's leaders have since issued long statements. I would take leave to say that their argument does not appeal to me. You may ask if I approve of the Union government approaching the United Nations. I may say that I both approve and do not approve of what they did. I approve of it because after all, what else are they to do? They are convinced that what they are doing is right. If there are raids from outside the frontier of Kashmir, the obvious conclusion is that it must be with the connivance of Pakistan. Pakistan can deny it, but the denial does not settle the matter. Kashmir has acceded the accession upon certain conditions. If Pakistan harasses Kashmir and if Kashmir asks the Indian Union for help, the latter is bound to send help. Such help therefore was sent to Kashmir. At the same time, Pakistan is being requested to get out of Kashmir and to arrive at a settlement with India over the question through bilateral negotiations. If no settlement can be reached in this way, then a war is inevitable. It is to avoid the possibility of war that the Union government has taken the step it did. God alone knows whether they are right in doing so or not. Whatever might have been the attitude of Pakistan, if I had my way, I would have invited Pakistan's representatives to India and we could have met, discussed the matter and worked out some settlement. They keep saying that they want an amicable settlement, but they do nothing to create the conditions for such a settlement. I shall therefore humbly say to the responsible leaders of Pakistan that though we are now two countries, we should at least try to arrive at an agreement so that we could live as peaceful neighbors. Let us grant for the sake of argument that all Indians are bad, but Pakistan at least is a newborn nation which has come into being in the name of religion and it should at least keep itself clean. But they themselves make no such claim. It is not their argument that Muslims have committed no atrocities in Pakistan. I shall therefore suggest that it is now their duty, as far as possible, to arrive at an amicable understanding with India and live in harmony with her. Mistakes were made on both sides, but this does not mean that we should persist in those mistakes, for then in the end we shall only destroy ourselves in a war and the whole of the subcontinent will pass into the hands of some third power. That will be the worst imaginable fate for us. I shudder to think of it. Therefore, the two nations should come together with God as witness and find a settlement. The matter is now before the United Nations. It cannot be withdrawn from there. But if India and Pakistan come to a settlement, the big powers in the United Nations will have to endorse that settlement. They will not object to the settlement. They themselves can only say that they will do their best to see that the two countries arrive at an understanding through mutual discussions. We may either learn to live in amity with each other or we may fight to the very end. That may be folly, but sooner or later it will purify us. Now I have a few words about Delhi. I came to know of the incidents which took place last evening. I had gone to the camp for the evening prayer. There are some Muslim houses at a little distance from the camp. About 400 or 500 inmates of the camp issued out of the camp to take possession of the houses. I am told they did not indulge in any kind of violence. Some of the houses were vacant. Some were occupied by the owners. They tried to take possession even of the latter. The police were near at hand. They immediately went to the spot and brought the situation under control. The police have stayed on there. I understand they had to use tear gas. Tear gas does not kill, but it can be pretty painful. I am told that something has happened today again. All I can say is that it is a matter of great shame for us. Have the refugees not learnt, even from their immense suffering, that they have to exercise some restraint? It is highly improper to go and occupy other people's houses. It is for the government to find them shelter or whatever else they need. Today, the government is our own. But if we defy our own government and defy the police and forcibly occupy houses, the government is not likely to continue for long. It is still worse that such things should happen in the capital city of India, where there are so many ambassadors from all over the world. Do we want to show them the spectacle of people occupying whatever they can? It is all the more regrettable that women and children were used as a shield. It is inhuman. It is like Muslim rulers keeping a herd of cows in the vanguard of their armies to make sure that the Hindus would not fight. It is uncivilized and barbaric behavior. It is still more barbaric to put women and children in front to provide against the police making charge. It is abuse of womanhood. I must humbly ask all the refugees not to behave in this way. Let them settle down. If they do not, then apart from a war between India and Pakistan, we may kill ourselves in mutual strife. We may lose Delhi and make ourselves the laughing stock of the world. If we want to keep India a free country, we must stop the things that are at present going on. The country has travelled a long and difficult road in the decades since the dawn of freedom. In the contestation of our present times, few remember Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru with admiration. Many find numerous faults in his thinking, policies and actions in the 17 long years of his prime ministership. He did make mistakes for which the nation has paid a great price. His speech on the night of India's freedom is rarely recalled now, but it is worthwhile to do so, for it embodies principles that are embedded in our constitution and sets out goals worth pursuing irrespective of ideological orientation and changing forms and manifestations of public culture. Pandit Nehru dwelt on India's past and its ideals. Not surprisingly, he spoke of Mahatma Gandhi in glowing terms. Of course, there were countless others who played stellar roles in the regeneration of the Indian spirit during the long night of British colonial rule. But there is no doubt that Mahatma Gandhi galvanized the people like no one else did. He fashioned the approach of non-violent struggle which inspired courage and resilience in ordinary persons. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's contribution to setting up an institutional framework that would provide a firm foundation for the transformation of India, including through fostering science and technology, was immeasurable. In many ways, it is this that set India apart from the other countries that achieved independence around the same time as India did. The set of institutions were designed to check the arbitrary exercise of power and were also mechanisms that would enable rapid social change of a feudal society and catalyze economic development of a country devastated by 2 centuries of exploitative colonialism. They were to buttress democracy too. Today, when India takes its democracy and peaceful and orderly change of power through the choice of the people as a natural pillar of political life, it is important to remember that it was able to consolidate democracy while many newly independent countries, including in our neighborhood, went under military rule. Credit must go to the people and also to the early leaders led by Nehru and Sardar Patel, who succeeded in the integration of the country at a time of great stress. Over the past 7 decades, the commitment made for combating poverty has been a priority of all governments. The approaches may have changed, and the socialistic system followed by Nehru may have given way to the primary role being accorded to private enterprise. But the objective of poverty eradication remains at the top of the agenda. There have been successes for the nation on this front, and the living condition of crores of people has improved, but the aim of improving health care and education has still to be fully achieved. Indeed, freedom would have had little meaning if India became a camp follower of one of the two blocs as the world descended into the era of Cold War. It took time and bitter lessons to imbibe the lesson that interests should be the only guide in dealing with the external world.